This podcast is proud to be part of the TalkSport Fan Network. TalkSport. Powered by fans.
Let's talk about something that's not always top of mind, but still really important. Life insurance. Why? Because it offers financial protection for your loved ones and can help them pay for things like a mortgage, credit card debt. It can even help fund an education. And guess what? Life insurance is probably a lot more affordable than you think. In fact, most people think life insurance is 3 times more expensive than it is. So with State Farm Life Insurance, you can protect your loved ones without breaking the bank. Not sure where to start? State Farm has over 19,000 local agents that can help you choose an option to fit your needs and budget. Get started today and contact a State Farm agent or go to statefarm.com.
Yo, UK! At BetMGM, we give our players sports betting entertainment like nobody's business. Football, horse racing, darts, boxing, tennis, golf, NFL, NBA. You name it, we got it. Offers? You know it. Bet £10 and get £40 in free bets. BetMGM, it's showtime.
New customers only. Exclusions apply. 18 plus. Please gamble responsibly.
This podcast is proud to be part of the TalkSport Fan Network. TalkSport. Powered by fans.
Hi and welcome to another away end. We go into yet another game as they start coming thick and fast across the League One schedule. And going into the weekend's game against Mansfield. Birmingham off the back of another 2-0 result and win against Bolton on Tuesday evening. And Mansfield's 2-1 win over Wigan takes us into a game where we're both on form and firmly both in the top half of the table. So looking forward to hearing from our colleagues at our very own Mansfield podcast around what's going to happen. So thank you, first of all, as I'm Craig Courtney and I'm joined by Craig Priest from Mansfield Matters podcast to run through how things are. So seems weird to say, but Craig, thanks a lot for joining.
Thanks for having us, Craig. It's a little laugh to myself there because you're saying, two sides in form in League One. How Mansfield Town? How are we in the top 4 in League One? Absolute madness. Loving it though. Great to be on. Thanks for having us.
No worries whatsoever. And I know I've mentioned it there, but we do both go into the game on a run of form, which plays out for a good game. I think as we come into the weekend, and we'll come into a little bit more about that shortly. But I went back over our history, and I can't really call it history because we haven't actually played each other many times at all. Wow. In fact, over all of the years, we've actually only played 8 games against each other. So it's hard to think really that we're in that position. And quite scarily, the last time that we actually met each other in the league was 1991 when Birmingham won the league. So it's quite ironic that we go into the situation we're in now where, yet again, we're going to be going in as favourites to win the league and sitting top of it at the moment. So, over the years, like I mentioned, eight times we've played. It's 3 wins apiece, 2 draws. So as a record, it's not bad. In the last 5, Birmingham have had 3 wins, a loss and a draw. So a little bit ahead of the curve, I suppose, in terms of that front. But the draw was actually the last game that we played back in the league in 91. And it was a dull and boring 0-0. We go... obviously forwards many moons, both been through the mill in terms of clubs, but as we mentioned at the beginning, both on a high at the moment. So tell us, first of all, before we go into a bit about Mansfield, tell us about your podcast. How long have you been going? What you get into? What sort of things do you do? And do you work directly with the club, or is this just purely for the love of the fans?
Oh, it's always for the love of the fans. I mean, firstly, I'd love to be able to say that I remember the last time that these two clubs, the time the last 2 clubs met, but I can't because I was born in 91. So that's how long ago it was. So I apologise for that already. I know, I know, I know. But in terms of Mansfield Matters, it's a little bit of a strange one, really, because it all sort of started back in the conference days. Really, I was sort of doing an apprenticeship at a local community radio station, and we started up. No other radio station at the time was doing it. The BBC were nowhere near it. The club weren't particularly doing much. The other local commercial radio station that I had a bit of involvement in later down the line and previously weren't doing anything at the time due to being in the conference. And we started up a Friday night football phone in and we wanted a name for it. And my partner at the time, in fact, no, it wasn't actually. That came a little bit later. We were just sort of brainstorming some ideas around, and we just sort of came up with Mansfield Matters because Mansfield mattered to the fans, and that's what it was. It was so it started life as a Friday phone-in show, which I think about 3 people probably listened to at the time. Then it merged into sort of doing match day commentary in the conference days, which again I think 3 people probably listened to. And then you fast forward, we get promoted from the conference. We can't do the coverage because we were a charity radio station, so we couldn't afford the fees of the Football League. And then you fast forward sort of a few seasons, and I'd not been going for a while. I'd sort of had a few sort of mental health issues and wanted to get back into going to watching the games again. And met up with a lad that I knew quite well called Nathan Edge, who's actually a blind supporter, and he'd not long since fully lost his sight. And we both sort of wanted this outlet to talk about Mansfield. We weren't really drinkers, we weren't really pubby type people, so we came up with this concept of doing a podcast and just starting it. And silly enough, we actually decided to, I don't know why we did this, record it in parks. So we would go to like cafes in parks and sort of sit. Then it got to sort of October time. We think it's bloody freezing. It's dark. We can't film it. It's just daft. So we decided to convert my spare bedroom at my dad's house into a little sort of studio office type. Get a really rubbish table from Argos, one of those camping blue fold-out ones, and just Facebook it live. It was dreadful. I've watched some of it back. It was absolutely horrendous, the quality. We had the little face square thing on the tracker because we couldn't get the capture card working properly. And over the years, it's just evolved and evolved. It's gone back into doing commentary again. So 3 seasons ago, when Mansfield got to the playoff final, I was doing commentary on the commercial radio station, which was really great because it got us an insight into the dressing room. But mainly it flew during COVID because none of us could go to the games, and we all wanted to still stay connected. And we, hopped on Zoom or Teams or whatever and managed to pull a podcast together, found a little bit of online software, which we now use to broadcast to multiple platforms. And we now do it in a bit of a hybrid way because we've sort of all moved on. A couple of lads went to uni. Some have got families and kids. So it's quite difficult to all get together in the same room to do it. So now we have this hybrid every week of sometimes we'll do it remotely and other times we'll get together in the garden or wherever, or we'll go around one of each other's houses. And it's just great. And it's just become this weekly sort of therapy session that's been watching this crazy journey. We always say the highs and lows of watching Mansfield Town, predominantly the lows up until 3 seasons ago. And I think for the last 3 series, every single week, we've just sort of been going, oh, right, well, this is a bit weird. And yeah, we're just loving life. We say it's following the fortunes and misfortunes of Mansfield Town because Mansfield matters. In terms of a direct link with the club, not so much now. I mean, we've had opportunities to potentially do it, but what we always wanted to do, and as someone that works in marketing myself, I understand it from the club's point of view, because if it was sort of club led, there'd be a lot of things that you wouldn't be allowed to say, and it would be very sort of positive PR spin. Our bread and butter has always been at the core to make it about giving the fans a voice. Have your say on your team, which is our strapline, because Mansfield matters. So it's the highs and the lows. So by being independent and by being a fan's voice, it's a good thing to do. And over the years, we've been able to sort of interview ex-players and things like that. But I wouldn't particularly want it to be an official club podcast because that would take away the core of it. Although I have to say that the club are extremely supportive of it. I know the head of media and communications quite well. And if ever there's an event or tickets that they need to push or a message they need to push, I'll help them by sharing that. And I know the owners, because they live in Portugal, they watch in and tune in sometimes as well, which is it can be good and bad depending on what we're saying. But no, it's just all about having a laugh. And to be honest, it seems weird to say this about a podcast because, as everyone knows, everyone looks at stats, everyone looks at numbers, hits, views, whatever. We don't care. because it's just about us getting together. If one person watches it, if 100,000 or whatever watch it, doesn't matter to us, because it's all about us getting together and staying connected as friends. And it's quite humbling, really, to sort of hear people coming up to you at games or whatever and saying, "Great podcast this week, love what you're doing, keep it up," because it means that people are staying connected. And right from day dot, that's been the point of it all.
And yeah, we're very, very similar on Tilton Talk. Our height, I suppose, really, we've been going for like 13 years. So our height really was during COVID, and we did, very, very similar. We used to be in the studio, we turned to Zoom, and during that period of time, we had ex-players joining us every single week. Even though there was no football, we had the ex-players joining us just to have an hour, as it was then, to talk about what was going on, their past, to give somebody a break away from what everybody was thinking about was, oh God, there's something horrible out there, and we want to stay away from it. So we carried on, and it's interesting that you've got that sort of same ethos as ourselves, which is, we're not directly linked with the club. We do help them out. We do the pushing of events. We do the messaging. We get out as much as we possibly can to support them, especially with the BCFC Foundation and the fantastic work that they do. But also, it is about being that independent where somebody can say, if we were poor, we say we're poor. We don't hold back. And it's about that honesty. So coming to like a game at the weekends, a lot of people would be going, oh, it's the Giants versus the Minnows. Actually, it's not the case. We're both going in on that really good run of form. So tell us what to expect from the Mansfield side. So, in terms of the way that you set yourselves up, how does the manager like to play, and who are your key players? And I always ask the question, but is there a weakness?
It's an interesting one. I mean, in terms of how we play, first and foremost, I think the game Saturday will suit our style a lot more, because we are a side which thrives off an atmosphere. We thrive off having a spark. And I think a lot of people will be looking at Saturday's game from outsiders and going, it's the Giants, it's David versus Goliath in some ways. You guys, the prime example I can give is what was it, 13 million on Jay Stansfield, was it? Or 10 or 13 million? Something rumoured along those lines, wasn't it? Yep. I don't think we've if you accumulate all of our transfer dealings throughout our entirety of our history, we still wouldn't get anywhere near that. So it's it's the levels thing. I think people will draw those comparisons, but we're not here to make up the numbers in League One. We're really giving it a go. We're getting players back slowly but surely now, and Nigel Clough, apart from one player, has got every single person available to him. All right, they're not all fully fit, but he's got everybody available, which he's not had for a very long time, and I mean a very long time as well. In terms of the way we play, we used to line up with a back four, and then anything would go in front of that because we were quite fluid. That's the way we got promoted. We like to play through the midfield, and we like to get the ball out wide and then get the ball into the box, playing through the likes of Stephen Quinn, etc. But this season, since we've lost Davies Keeler-Dunn on transfer deadline day, which we all knew was happening, was going to happen anyway, we've been forced to change our system. And do you know what? It's been an absolute blessing in disguise. I will never stand in the way of a player that wants to move for money, because it's such a short career. Think I'm 33 years old, and if I was a footballer now, I'd be in my prime. I'd be towards the end of my career, which is mad, absolutely mad to think like that. So I never sort of stand in the way. But what we've done is we've lost a player who was pretty much the key cog in our creativity and the way we played. So we've had to adapt, and rather than sort of putting square pegs in round holes, which we've done in previous seasons, we've changed the levels. So now we play with a back five for the majority of the time. We do drop back into that back four, don't get me wrong, and try and close off the midfield, but we try and play with wing backs now. We're a lot more patient. We'll soak up pressure, and we'll patiently look for openings and try and catch teams on the counter attack, and maybe try and nick one from set piece as well, which has been sneaking to our game a little bit more, which sort of came to fruition on Tuesday night at Wigan with with what proved to be the winning goals. So, we'll certainly sort of play that way. We're sort of set up now to not have a lot of time on the ball. We sort of used to that a little bit, and like I say, soaking up that pressure. And in terms of key players, one thing I think which always surprises me about Mansfield Town is, unlike other clubs, you can't really pick 2 or 3 players which you would say are your standout starlets. We have assembled a squad where anybody within in that squad can go into the 11. It does not damage or hinder the quality at all.
No.
And, I think a lot of people, when they do look at key players, your analysts and stuff, they'll go, oh, Lee Gregory, because he's been there and done it. Will Evans is on form at the minute because he's scoring goals. Well, actually, the key players are the ones, for me, which go unnoticed. So it's the likes of Deji Oshalaja, or Dave, as we record to him on the podcast, because it's easier than trying to say his name over and over again. He's been an absolute colossus for us at the back. He was playing in midfield for Burton last year. Now he's dropped into a back three, and he's playing really, really well. Elliot Hewitt, who spent a lot of last season injured, he's come back in at right wing back, having got his fitness back up. Not quite to a 90-minute standard yet, but he comes in and does a job. And also, players like Lewis Reed, who absolute quality on the ball in terms of spreading passes and making passages of play happen. But I think above all, it starts at the very back between the sticks. Christy Pym is an absolute, for me, he's the best goalkeeper in League One. He's probably the best goalkeeper in League One, League Two, and probably pushing the half of the Championship as well. He's got an incredible ability. He saves things from nowhere, and for a short lad, he should be playing a lot higher than what he is, and we're really, really grateful to have him. And it's no surprise that he was called up for Northern Ireland in the last international break, and no doubt he'll continue to flourish as well. We'll be lucky, I think, to have him beyond next season. He's that good.
You mentioned the goalkeeper, so we see so many teams, Birmingham being one of them, that like to now play out from the back. So is he the typical sweeper keeper? Is he the person that knocks the ball about, or is he old school? I'm going to catch the ball and it doesn't matter, I'm going to launch it and just make sure that we're out and, getting on the attack. How does he generally play? And I guess that's the other part is, are you one of these teams that likes to play out from the back as well?
I think, with that, I sound a little bit like a dinosaur saying, I don't think I can remember the last time that I've seen him catch. But do you know what? It's modern football. Goalkeepers aren't built to catch anymore. And we were having this discussion last night because he came and punched the ball under pressure. You got a really good connection on it and cleared the danger. And everyone's going, there's a few around us who are going, why didn't you catch that? And just sort of give him that whole thing. But the way we're set up to play, we've got an excellent goalkeeping coach in Adam Collin, who came in a few seasons ago from the youth setup. He sort of stepped up when Seamus McDonough retired, and he's been fantastic. And he's really brought Christy Pym out of his shell. He gets his body position well. He can save with his feet, save with his hands. He's good up high. He's a good shot stopper, a good penalty saver as well. And critically, he's good with his feet. We do like to play from the back because that's the system. Yeah. If you're playing five at the back, you're not lumping it long. You're looking to get your wing backs in play. You're looking to give it to your two centre halves and to really start playing and to use that third centre half to come and be a link man to create that space. Sometimes it can be a little bit frustrating to watch because you're thinking, why on earth are we playing the ball across our own 6-yard box? This is, calling for disaster.
Horrible, isn't
it? It is horrible, but it's the patient way of playing. And you look at the phases of play, the right side centre-back gives it to the right wing-back. He drives forward, creates a bit of space, gives it inside to midfield, and all of a sudden you've got space open. It's just about being patient. And at this level, it's a good way of keeping the ball and really frustrating your opposition. And that's what's, really working well for us. 2 or 3 seasons ago, in fact, last season at times, we were really fast-paced. We like to get it to back to front really quickly, but again, we played out from the back. So yeah, we're a play out from the backside, and Christy Pym is very good with his feet. But you know what? Even if for some reason he got injured, God forbid he doesn't, because he's been excellent for us. Scott Flinders is number 2, who's ex-Cheltenham and a few others. He's equally as good. He's a fantastic shot stopper himself, and again, he'll play with his feet. And we just set up and moulded now for any player to come in and play at any position. And I'm sure we'll talk about this a little bit later on as well. But do not be surprised when you see a number 9 playing at centre-back. Jordan Barry's an enigma.
And that kind of leads on to my next question is in regards to the structure of the team. And you've mentioned it very briefly there, tends to be the 5 at the back with the wing-backs pushing on. Very similar formation to what we see coming out of Birmingham. Our play, it's fair to say, is through the midfield, and it's...
At BetMGM, we know how to put on a show. So we don't just do offers, we do golden offers like this.
MGM Millions, our supersized jackpot where right now you could win over £21 million.
Get ready for the golden era in online casino. BetMGM, it's showtime.
Minimum 10p game stake. Terms and conditions apply. 18 plus. Please gamble responsibly.
Let's talk about something that's not always top of mind, but still really important: life insurance. Why? Because it offers financial protection for your loved ones and can help them pay for things like a mortgage, credit card debt. It can even help fund an education. And guess what? Life insurance is probably a lot more affordable than you think. In fact, most people think life insurance is 3 times more expensive than it is. So with State Farm Life Insurance, you can protect your loved ones without breaking the bank. Not sure where to start? State Farm has over 19,000 local agents that can help you choose an option to fit your needs and budget. Get started today and contact a State Farm agent or go to statefarm.com.
Well, it's hard to go a game without mentioning Owatta at the moment as a key player in our team. He was one of those star signings for me during the window, and a snip at £1 million. But to come from Celtic and you know, God, the guy's just a workhorse, and him and Pake in the middle have just got this gelling of players. It seems unbreakable at the moment. They fight for each other, and then we've got Wilhelmsson who's pushing forwards as well. Hansen unfortunately got injured on Tuesday evening, but was our wing player. But then we've got Anderson, and he has been on fire since signing a new contract with the club as well. So it's I think it's got the makings of a great game, because I had a look at the stats actually from your game from Tuesday evening, and the one thing that I saw was that I think, as you've mentioned, you're not afraid to absorb the pressure, and whilst you don't have huge amounts of possession, you've still got that ability to get forwards and score goals. And what I noticed from the stats was that whilst your possession was pretty low, I think it was about 35-38% on Tuesday, but your attacks on goal was actually really high. And so that makes for a good game. But also, Animus is Cloughy. He seems to have this knack of setting up a team that can get the results against Birmingham. And you mentioned Burton, but when he was there, we could often go into games thinking he was on an absolute high and come away with nothing, because he just knew how to break a team down and ultimately grind out a result, which in this league is what a lot of people really need to do. And I don't discredit anybody in this league, to take it far from granted that it's a walk in the park. It's not. Every team has their strengths. But also the one thing that we've got to realise is everybody also has a weakness there, and we're included in that, Can we keep clean sheets? We got one Tuesday night, but that's the first. There's not many games we come away without conceding goals, and normally straight off a throw-in, which is quite scary.
I'd love to say we'd score from throw. I love a long throw. I remember the conference days. We had Exeter Scahegan who used to launch it miles, and we've got 3 players in our squad that can throw it long. And Clough just does not like to use it unless it's really, really late in the game. And I would love, with the likes of Aidan Flint, Bailey Cargill, Fraser Blake Tracy, the height that we've got in our side, I would love to see us launching long throws. But it's a frustrating one. But I think what Nigel Clough does well, he's very patient, and what he's done for Mansfield Town, not just as a club but as a fan base, is completely change our attitude, because we're now a lot more patient when things aren't going right. I remember, under previous managers, if we were playing this type of football where we're just nonchalantly knocking it across the back and it's really slow and slowed down and frustrating, they would be going berserk. But people know it's a bit of a game with Clough. It's about patience. It's about building. It's also about not looking too far ahead and getting ahead of yourself. And, what he does really, really well. And it's no surprise, I think, to see us competing where we are. It's a surprise to see us in 4th, but I think that's just momentum and points. But when I came into League One, I knew if we kept hold of Nigel Clough, because there was a real danger that we might not have done for a couple of reasons. One being that he's made no secret of the fact that this is probably his last club in terms of a manager, because he wants to retire and spend time with his wife, which after the career you've had, he's outdone his dad in terms of games managed. So he wants to sort of step back. So we were thinking, if he goes and someone else comes in, that's a new DNA that you've got to start. And DNA does not happen overnight. And a new manager might come in and want to throw money at it because they feel the pressure. Nigel Clough doesn't do that. Like I said, mentioned earlier, we've only spent money on one player in this transfer window, and that's Will Evans from Newport. And in Nigel Clough's entire tenure as manager, I can count on one hand the number of players that we've paid money for, because we're patient. I mean, key example, we could have got Lee Gregory in January from Sheffield Wednesday. The deal was there. It was on the table. He wanted to come. They wanted to do it, but they wanted a higher price point than what we were prepared to pay.
Yeah.
And we've said to him, we'll sign you in the summer when you're a free agent, get your head down, do your work. And he's gone, yeah, no problem. I want to stay here and fight, and I'm going to rinse this club for what I've got, and then I'll come to you on a free. We've saved money. We've got a great player in the meantime, and we've not wasted it. It's crazy to sort of think and to build on those blocks of players coming in on a free and to create what we've created. It is really good to see, and I think it's interesting that you say that. You give respect to other teams in this division. There's probably a lot of other supporters that are the opposite way. I can certainly think of those supporters of a team that like to have documentaries that are a little bit like that as well. So there's no room for arrogance in this league, and that's one thing which Nigel Clough has taught us. We're under no illusions that Saturday will be a very, very tough game, but we don't care because we're just enjoying it, and we know now that we've got a side that will not just roll over and have the bellies tickled. Yeah. They'll make you work, and you'll probably come away thinking, even if you do win, you'll probably come away thinking, oh my God, that was like, running uphill with concrete on your back, because it's just Nigel Clough's work ethic.
I was going to say that's a Clough
always wanted.
Cloughy substance all the way through. And one thing you can always see coming out of his teams. Got to ask. I do this with everybody, and again, I'm not going to lie, I found this quite hard with the research that was completed, but we've had players that have crossed between clubs, either on loan or permanent transfers, and again, over the years, not huge amounts have moved between Birmingham and Mansfield. However, there are some names that people will recognise. So, bit of a challenge. Can you name 5 players that have represented both Mansfield and Birmingham? And now, like I say, that could be a loan or permanent moves.
I've definitely got one. I might have 3, depending on whether my memory is up to it or not. I'm not sure. Well, let's go for the obvious one, and that is the god, the legend, the overlord. That is Sir Matthew of Green, Matt Green. Conference legend for us. And of course, we were lucky to get him back a second spell after his injury with you guys. I genuinely think as well, on him briefly, that
Ryan Reynolds here for, I guess, my 100th Mint commercial. No, don't. I mean, honestly, when I started this, I thought I only have to do like 4 of these. I mean, it's unlimited premium wireless for $15 a month. How are there still people paying 2 or 3 times that much? I'm sorry, I shouldn't be victim blaming here. Give it a try at mintmobile.com/switch. Whenever you're ready.
$45 upfront payment equivalent to $15 per month. New customers on first 3-month plan only. Taxes and fees extra. Speed slower above 40 gigabytes. See details.
If he'd have not suffered the injury that he did when he did, he'd have gone on and really flourished for you, because he was that type of striker. He was in great form at the time, but thanks for getting him injured and letting us have him back. The others would literally just be loans. Now, I'm really, really struggling to wrap my brains. I'm thinking we potentially had Ryan Stirk on loan from you.
You did indeed. Yes, that's correct. And he was a loan transfer back 2021-22.
Yeah, he was good for us. Was Stirk? I quite liked him. I think he's at is it Warsaw now?
He's at Warsaw now. Indeed.
Good competitive midfielder. Did really well for us, part of the playoff team. I think he got a bit of a knock halfway through, so struggled to get back in the team towards the back end when momentum was going for us. But I always liked Ryan. He looked a good young prospect. The other one I'm thinking could be another Ryan, and it sounds very similar, Ryan Burke, but I'm not quite sure. I think
that is
am
correct.
I right?
That is
right.
true. Ryan Burke again. free transfer he was from Birmingham to yourselves, and that was also back in the 21-22 season.
Yeah, he barely played for us, did Ryan Burke? But I sort of had a feeling that he might have been from the same place. And then the rest, I'm really struggling because, again, I feel a lot of them would have probably been not my era. I've got a feeling we had probably had someone on loan from you guys, probably 2006, 7 sort of era, but I couldn't be 100% sure. If you gave me some initials and sort of told me a rough year, I might be able to guess. But
Well, I'll tell you what. I mean, you've mentioned Ryan Sturck, Ryan Burke. They were the last kind of,
yeah,
the ones that have been most recent. As a player in the 2020-21 season, right back, initials CK.
ooh,
I should
right back
actually
to
say it's not CK on its own. I suppose you could say COK.
Corey O'Keefe. Yeah,
Indeed.
Corey O'Keefe. Yeah, I liked Corey. Didn't he was unfortunately part of the squad which we don't talk about a lot, which was the COVID Graham Coughlin era, not era. And Nigel Clough then came in, and Corey O'Keefe, just because we weren't playing wing backs at that point, couldn't get a game and found himself frozen out. So yeah, I don't know where he is at the moment. Corey O'Keefe. Is he? No, I do know he's at Barnsley, isn't he?
Yes.
Randomly, done quite well for himself. Yeah.
So,
Any
and I mean, I'll run through the others to save you putting you through your misery. But 2014, 2015, you had a loan transfer of Amari Bell from us.
Yes, played about one game for us.
You also had Andrew Barrowman. He's a centre forward. He came in the 04-05 season. Going back well in the years, but actually, you've already mentioned you were born in 91, so you'd have been one when this player was at your club. But that was centre forward Darren Rowbottom. He came to yourselves on loan. And then we're going back many, many years to 84, 85, a midfielder called Stuart Storer. Going back even further, 82, 83, you had David Coles. And then going back even further, 1969 to 1970, Jim Herriot, who was a goalkeeper. And then I've left one out because he was an absolute star player for Birmingham. He was a central midfielder that came to you on loan in the 92-93 season, and he's a genuinely really nice guy in Dean Peer. He was, phenomenal for Birmingham and was in the midfield. So some good players. But we come to that point of the show where I just want to basically turn around and say, we go into the game at the weekend. I need you to predict the results, and what does your head say and what does your heart say?
It's a really interesting one. I think we have within our DNA, especially our supporters now, we have two types of fixture. You have the type of fixture, for example, like Stevenage, where we lost 1-0, where it's cold, flat atmosphere, not a lot of away fans. It doesn't really bounce. There's not a lot of energy in the game. And then there's the games like Wigan on Tuesday night, where we take a huge following. There's a little bit on show because we sort of, in our heads, our mindset, we're still sort of leveling up that level. And why are we in the same division as these? These won the FA Cup, and, all of that sort of stuff. They were in the Prem. And it's similar with you guys. You've sold your relegation. It's a sold out stadium. It'll be bouncing from the first minute. There'll be a few nerves there. Of course there will, because obviously, you're top, we're fourth, and there's a lot on it. But that bounce, that vigor, that sort of spark which we have, really, really, our players really, really thrive on. And if we can get an early goal, I would not discount us coming away with all 3 points, because it's just confidence and momentum and that fire which is in there. So, but looking obviously on paper, you guys have obviously got quality. That's the difference in this league. You've obviously been able to invest in that quality. Yes, money doesn't win you football matches. It doesn't win you trophies. But what it does enhance you. But it takes a good coach and a good manager to get you going. You've obviously had a good start so far. And I'm not going to sit here and pretend it's not going to be a tough test. But we will sort of stand up to it and we will sort of really dig our heels in. And like I said earlier, we'll make it hard for you. My head says it will probably be a defeat, but we'll nick a draw. I think, 1-1. If we were coming to you guys, our away form's incredible at the moment, I would 100% say win. But my heart always, because Mansfield always matters, has to say win. So I'm going to say it will be a really tight game, one of those which is really end-to-end, lots of chances for both sides. Neither can quite find something that drops. And then there'll be a 90th minute corner, and we'll do what we barely do and score from a set piece and win it 1-0.
You know what? If that comes off, and I'll say ahead of it, I think you should have some money on it.
Never.
So, I mean,
bet on Mansfield, never.
Going into the game, I think, for myself, we're on this phenomenal run of form, and at the moment, it's one of those that as fans, we look at it and we go, even if we go goal behind, as we did against Lincoln, there isn't a fear that things can go totally belly up. We saw a bad game at Charlton. We really did see a bad Birmingham game there. And Chris Davies wasn't happy. You could tell, because after that, the bounce back, it was the Bristol Street Motors game against Shrewsbury. But again, it was then a case of, do you know what, we're going to go back to the way that we were, the attacking, flowing football, which is through the midfield and giving the chances to Stansfield and obviously Alfie May. So my prediction is I think we'll go for a 2-0 win. But the one thing I will say is it's going to be hard fought. It's going to be one of those games where we may have lots of possession, but we're going to have to break you down in order to get the result. So I said it on the show on Monday. I'll stick with it. 2-0 to Birmingham. And hopefully my run of predictions continues to come true. So thank you very much indeed for joining us on the away end. As always, it's great to get an insight to what your club are set up to be and how it will work. And I'll sign off, as always, by saying thanks a lot and keep right on.
Yo, UK! At BetMGM, we give our players sports betting entertainment like nobody's business. Football, horse racing, darts, boxing, tennis, golf, NFL, NBA. You name it, we got it. Offers? You know it. Bet £10 and get £40 in free bets. BetMGM, it's showtime.
New customers only. Exclusions apply. 18 plus. Please gamble responsibly.
If there's one thing that my family and friends know me for, it's being an amazing gift giver. I owe it all to Celebrations Passport from 1-800-Flowers.com, my one-stop shopping site that has amazing gifts for every occasion. With Celebrations Passport, I get free shipping on thousands of amazing gifts. And the more gifts I give, the more perks and rewards I earn. To learn more and take your gift giving to the next level, visit 1-800-Flowers.com/ACAST. That's 1-800-Flowers.com/ACAST.
This podcast is proud to be part of the TalkSport Fan Network. TalkSport. Powered by fans.